Now we're going to look at using an interface inside of a class. Remember that we have an interface defined called iSpeech that has a method called speakDefine that returns a value of void. So I'm going to go to my person class, and then I'm going to implement that interface right after the class declaration. So public class person space implements, it should turn blue if you've typed it correctly, and then the interface name, iSpeech. By the way, if you have multiple interfaces that a class is implementing, you can separate them by commas here. So now, before we do anything else, what I'm going to do is save the file. As we talked about in another movie, any class that implements an interface needs to define the methods that are set up in that interface. So every class that implements iSpeech needs to have a public method called speak. I haven't defined that in the person class, so let's see what happens. I'm going to go to the first keyframe of the actions layer, open up the actions panel, create a variable called person, data type it to person, and create a new instance of the person class. Test the movie and see what happens in the output window. It says interface method speak in namespace iSpeech not implemented by class person. So you get an error if you don't implement that method in your class. So let's go to person.as and define a public method called speak. It needs to return void and it can't accept any parameters because that's how we defined it in the interface. So now we'll just do a trace statement and I'll trace hello. Save the file. Go to the FLA file. On the line after the person is created, run the speak method. So person.speak, some parentheses and a semicolon, test the movie, and there's hello in the output window. I'm going to close the actions panel, and let's take a look at some of the other classes that I've created. I have a dog class, and it already implements iSpeech. It has the speak method defined, and it just sends out a simple trace statement that traces woof. I have a cat class that implements iSpeech, and the speak method says meow. So each method does something different. It's just the same name, and it's all based on that interface, iSpeech. Let's go back to the FLA file. Now here's where this can be really useful. I'm going to create a function on the main timeline, and I'm going to call this speak. It's not significant that it's the same name as the method in the classes. That doesn't matter here. Then I'm going to take one parameter, and that's going to be called speaker. And the data type for that, instead of being a class type, it's going to be an interface data type. So it has to be something that implements iSpeech. So you can use an interface as a data type. It's going to return void. And in here, it's going to call the speaker's speak method. So speaker.speak. So I'm going to go to the bottom of my code, and I'll run the speak method, and I'll pass in the person. Test the movie, and it works. So I'm passing in a person into the speak method, and because it implements iSpeech, the method works properly. So let's say I created a cat and a dog. So I'll create a variable called cat, data type it to cat, set it as a new instance of the cat class, and create a dog, just like I created the cat. And I can pass in the cat or the dog into the speak method, and because they implement iSpeech, it works properly. So using interfaces, you can implement methods in classes that can be completely unrelated. And then you can accept an interface as a data type in a function or a method, and you can know that any object passed in there has all of the methods defined in the interface.